Everybody, welcome to the Curling Community Connection. It's 5 o'clock on a Wednesday. We're here on a short week. The 4th of July holiday is coming up, and we have a true patriot with us today. I have Adrian Fontes, who's a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He's having served on active duty from 1992 through 1996 and was nominated for a meritorious commission. His service to the country taught him the importance of dedication, discipline, and sacrifice to forcefully fight for the American dream. After leaving active duty, Adrian received his bachelor's degree from ASU before continuing on to Durham College of Law at the University of Denver. Since graduating from law school, Adrian spent a career advocating for justice and fighting for those who are disadvantaged. He was first a prosecutor with the Denver District Attorney and then came over and worked in the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. He actually worked for the Arizona Attorney General before entering private practice. And now he comes to us as the county recorder up for re-election here in Maricopa County in 2020. He's been working on a renewed energy and vision for this office that we're going to talk about today. Please welcome to the Humble Show, Adrian Fontes.
The Humble Show? I thought it was the Eric Curlin Show.
Yeah, no, it's a Curling Community Connection.
I love that.
We try to go with alliterations.
I love it. I'm happy to be here, and hello to everybody out there in internet land.
That's right. So we are live here through Zoom, focused on the Facebook live stream. If you have any questions for Adrian, go ahead, throw them in the comments section. Put a little question mark in front so that Andy Gomez, my wonderful campaign manager, can pull that out and throw it into the Zoom chat, and hopefully we can get it answered. Adrian's agreed to answer most everything. We're just going to have a wide-ranging conversation.
Anything that Andy asks, particularly since she's a 4th or 5th generation Arizonan. I just found out before the show, and her family's been around the Grand Canyon State for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say her name 100 times because I think it embarrasses her just a little bit.
Yeah, Andy Gomez, who is the original AG.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Not the OG, the AG. Okay. Nope, I'm very vain, and she loves it. Okay, she loves that. All right, very good. Hey, so this is going to be great. We're going to talk a little. I love that you have a legal background, but first I want to kind of get into how COVID has really affected the whole election process and what you're looking at. I'm just give me the snapshot from today because I know it's changed up until now, and it'll change.
Thanks for starting with the softball. The whole thing is a gigantic hot mess, and as is with every election season, the great professionals at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office and Elections Department have been nimble enough, agile enough, and capable enough to really remodel the entire election that we've literally been planning for since the beginning of my term in 2017. We've been looking at this time period right now and trying to figure out how we're going to make it work. And then everything went all cattywampus in March. And so today...
Can you spell cattywampus, or is that too much of a softball?
I tell you what, none of these are for spelling. They're all for other stuff. I cannot spell to save my life. But so we made some major adjustments, as folks know, during the presidential preference election in mid-March. That went off all but without a hitch, even with all the changes we had to make very, very quickly. Right now, what we're anticipating is the following. Number one, we're expanding in-person voting into a situation where we may have the most accessible election in the United States. Let me repeat that. We may have the most accessible election in the United States of America. We will have more than 60 vote centers, that's Vote Anywhere vote centers, open for 14 days prior to Election Day, including nights and weekends, where folks who have jobs, whatever, dealing with parents and kids and all that, can figure out when during that 14-day period want to vote. So on-the-ground voters, which only account for a small portion of our overall turnout, we're talking about 10 to 15%, depending on the election, maybe 20% of the total, is in-person voting. We've expanded that. Now, it's not going to be the full 500 locations on Election Day, but that expansion gives people enough time to have enough social distancing, enough time to plan. They're not going to be rushed. There'll be fewer people, but we will have a concentrated effort on our cleanliness, keeping everything sanitary, our PPE for our workers, masks for voters who may not have a mask with them, although Maricopa County is under our mask mandate from the Board of Supervisors. So we're hoping that folks comply with that. That's on the ground. In the early vote world, which and most people don't know, we run two totally separate elections all the time. We run our on the ground, usually precinct-based election day, which is now vote centers, and then we have the permanent early vote list or early voting by mail. That's gone gangbusters as well. We have signed up well over 100,000 new permanent early vote list voters this year, a lot of them coming in the last month, and we think that has a lot to do with our communication efforts and our promotion of it. There are a lot of third parties out there who are doing their promotion as well. We think that's pushing traffic towards this. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we've got as many people voting by mail as possible for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's safer. During this pandemic, we want to keep people safe. We don't want folks exposing our folks or our staff. If they'd like to come in and vote, they obviously can. They have the right to do that. We want to provide safe environments. We'd like people to vote at home. That'll be better. It's also less expensive. It's also more accountable. And it's also much more convenient for voters. You get your ballot, you take your time, you look at all your selections, you do your research on your candidates, and you don't feel rushed when you're at the polling place. So right now, we're looking at a voter registration deadline of July the 6th. And then we're going to be moving forward with our plans to mail ballots out on July the 8th, 2 days later. And then about a week and a half after that is when we get to that 2-week period before election day to open up a lot of those other early voting places.
Okay, so there was an important date you threw out there, which is this Monday, I think, July 6th.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Monday, July the 6th. That is the 29th day before elections. Arizona law.
But it's for the primary election, not for the.
That's correct, and thank you for that clarification. For the August 4th primary, you have to be registered by July 6th. That's 29 days before the election. Now, the fall election is in November, and you've got 29 days before that to vote in that election. So that 29-day rule is election by election by election. And so for the primary on August 4th, it's a July 6th deadline to sign up.
Right. So now, I mean, here's the other side. First of all, you have the Marine flag behind you, and I want to thank you for your service. I try to thank everybody who served. The fact is, you and I have talked a little bit prior to this interview, in this conversation, and you have repeatedly said that you are an American before any party, Democrat, Republican, Independent. You are pro-American. I mean, this is your goal.
It's interesting to me. Yeah, and I've mentioned this before, it's a great conversation to have because there's some people out there who I unfortunately think some folks are loyal to their party before they're loyal to this country. And, it's a free country. You can do that. That's just not me. I ran for this office 4 years ago now when we started that campaign because Americans couldn't vote. It wasn't because Democrats couldn't vote or Republicans couldn't vote or independents. It was because Americans couldn't vote. And, just less than a year ago, I was fighting against my own party in a pretty pitched battle to try to let independents vote in the Democratic presidential preference election. And there were a lot of Democrats who got all hot under the collar and kind of grumpy with me because I believe that we should let all voters vote. I don't know if that's backwards.
No, that's good.
But the bottom line is this. Look, we're paying for this. And the presidential preference election is just, in my mind, like any other election. We're paying for it, and independents can vote in our election in August in the partisan primaries. Why can't they vote in the presidential preference? It's a silly rule that we have in Arizona. We comply with the rules, but that doesn't mean we don't get to complain about them if they're wrong.
Well,
so I just really believe that partisanship is nonsense when it comes to election administration. Now, am I a Democrat? Yes. Am I registered as a Democrat? Yes. But that's over here. My job is to administer elections for all American voters, for all eligible citizens. And I can separate the two. And that's one of the important things I think folks have to realize. It's not that hard to do.
Yeah. Well, let's go to where you had that pitched battle because you had another battle. It was after the fact. but the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors kind of changed things up. Can you talk a little bit about the history? Because you ran, let's face it, things change because party politics does matter. In Maricopa County, we were beholden to a Republican majority, even in this state, for pretty much the last 25 years. And with that, the person who you replaced, Helen Purcell, had some issues with the presidential election, which is really where you kind of came in, right? She had election issues.
Well, yeah. So the bottom line is this. When I got elected for a specific reason, and that was because there were problems with the administration of elections in Maricopa County. I didn't get elected because I'm like a popular guy or people knew me or anything like that. I was very new. It was the first time I ever got elected to anything. But what I understood was that my mission was I got to come in here and I got to make sense out of this thing, and I got to make it work better for the voters, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's my job, and we've done that job really well. One of those things, as you alluded to, was actually trying to figure out how to restructure the entire, basically the foundation of election administration in Maricopa County. And so the real quick history lesson is this. Arizona statutes give elections administration to two main players. Number one is the registrar, who is the county recorder. And the registrar is in charge of all early voting, ballot by mail, was in charge of emergency voting, all that stuff, okay? That belonged to the county recorder. And the statutes gave election day, some of the balloting stuff, some of the other stuff, those duties are by statute belong to the board. So you've got a two-headed monster, which is good. You've got checks and balances. They have to work together. This is a legislative type body. This is an executive type of officer. And what had happened was in 1955, Maricopa County Board basically said, this is 1955, before anybody was around, they said, we're not doing our job anymore, you do it. And they gave the whole thing to the county recorder. Now think about what a bad government model that is. Think about this for a second. You've got one partisan elected official in charge of the entire election operation. Everything from voter registration to early voting to balloting to polling places to training and recruiting poll workers, everything across the board, tabulation, the canvas. They had the county recorder doing every single piece of elections. No wonder things went cattywampus. There's that word again. And so when I was looking at this, I had to figure out how are we going to make this thing work better, but I couldn't make any significant, massive changes before 2018. Why? Because I had to figure out how this thing worked in the first place. How are you going to extract these duties and make it all still work when you've got them integrated for 60 years? I mean, that's a long time. The whole thing was tied together by budget, the internet, the information technology, the HR, everything was so totally tied together. There were accounts in either side of the budget that didn't belong there. So we've spent the last 3.5 years extracting everything back to what the statutory intent really was and ought to have been, because that's a better government model. Now, I've got folks, again, on my side of the aisle criticizing me. They're saying, well, hey, you're giving up power. And my answer to that is, so what? Yeah. I didn't take this office to take power. I took this office because the system needed improvement. And if it means that after 2018, we figured stuff out, I had to sit down with a Republican chair of the Board of Supervisors, and he and I had to go through a gazillion cups of coffee and cheeseburgers and chicken and whatever else we had, negotiating this deal so that we could share this duty of doing elections between the board and the recorder. If it's a better government model, why not? Look, I'm not that proud and I'm not that arrogant. I'm a little bit proud and arrogant, but at the end of the day, not so much that I want to preserve a bad government model. And so we split a bunch of the duties. They've got an election director for emergency voting and election day. We've got our early voting guy, Ray Valenzuela, who's phenomenal. They work together. We supervise them. We all report back and forth to each other, and you've got lots of eyes and ears on this thing. It was a bipartisan effort to split things apart, and what did we get? We got a better tabulation system. We got twice the number of staff in the election department. We got money to talk to folks, communicate with our voters, and help educate them about the system. We got nimbleness and flexibility because everybody is now looking at things, and it's not just one person asking these guys for permission to do something. We all understand things better. And at the end of the day, the voters are winning because we were willing to work with each other. And I'm really, really proud of the work that we did. And the politics be damned as far as election administration is concerned. Now, campaigning, whatever. I'm a candidate too. That stuff I don't like. But administering the election, that's good work. And I really love doing that.
Why don't you do us a favor and give us your website so people want to get some more information on you as the candidate?
Yeah, it's electfontes.com. Andy, if you can pop that into wherever comments and stuff like that. That's just
she will. Electfontes, FONTES.com.
Right.
And people get some more information, donate some money if they like.
Yes.
What do you say, cattywampus? Is that related to the pussy willow?
No. Cattywampus is a word that
I know. I'm just kidding. I think cattywampus, pussy willow. I mean, they're very close together. They're multi-syllable. Anyway, hey, so
have 4 syllables. Yes, you're right.
So the fact is that the Board of Supervisors has 4 Republicans. They have 1 Democrat. And
now they do.
Right now they do. And it's going to be contested elections, and there's a Democrat running in each of the 5 supervisor seats.
For the first time in the history of Maricopa County,
right,
since 1871.
And it's an important election. But I think the fact that you worked with the supervisor, and got this whole thing hashed out, do you think that has anything to do with the way they are performing together now, like the 5-0 vote to mask up in Maricopa?
Wow. Here's the thing about these guys, and some of them might watch this later, and I kind of really don't care. A lot of them are just business guys. They're not government guys. They just want to get the business part of things done. And which, it's not an insane philosophy. The business of America, after all, is business. Mm-hmm. And these are folks that got elected to represent Maricopa County. So, okay. That's their deal. They're none of them are really activists. None of them are really kind of crazy out there. And the reality is that they've been listening to the experts. They listened to the experts in the election department when we talked to them about reorganizing things, when we talked to them about going to vote centers recently, when we talked to them about the tabulation system. So these guys are they're not really crazy. You can disagree with a lot of what they say, and you don't have to vote for them. But at the end of the day, you can work with them. And I think what they've realized now is that, boy, look at where we're at. It's difficult for them because of the politics. I'll tell you that. Yeah. These guys get beat the heck out of by the far right.
Yeah.
It's like I sometimes get beat the heck out of by, some of our friends on the far left, but that's okay. I didn't take this job so that people would be like, oh, Adrian, you're great. No, I took this job to do the job, and so did they. So there's a lot of that we have to deal with, and they have to deal with it just from their folks, like I have to deal with it from my folks. But they're listening, and they're not dumb guys. Again, disagree with them if you want, but they're not that hard to work with. You just gotta sit and listen to people,
Well, there was kind of a dumb vote where they took on this whole Second Amendment that they're a gun-friendly county or something. Kind of.
Well, they're still politicians.
Yeah. I get you.
Especially in a legislature. Here's the difference. They're legislators, right? They are one of 5 individually. They can hide behind a group vote, right? They don't have to say, I did this, and have somebody actually measure it. They can talk about their votes. And so just like the folks in the legislature, right? It's just kind of how it is. You're not actually nobody's got a stick and holding it up to you. They can say, you sponsored this, you voted for this and that stuff. I, on the other hand, I'm one tiny little corner of the executive branch of county government. I have my thing that has to run. And if it doesn't go well, boy, people know. And I'm accountable, me personally. I'm not part of a group. There's 1 county recorder in Maricopa County. So the way that they do things is going to have to be different because the nature of the job is different. I mean, that's how our politics, our government is structured. It's supposed to be different. And so, I don't blame them for doing stuff like that sometimes. They just kind of have to for politics. And you know what? I'm not mad at them for that. What's the actual impact of a vote like that?
Yeah, well, we do have some comments coming in. We're talking with Adrian Fontes, Maricopa County elections person. What do you call your title again?
I'm the county recorder and registrar.
Recorder. You record. Is that little flute?
Yeah, I'm dead. You know what? It's funny. I joined the there's a recorders society Facebook, but it's not county recorders. It's like the actual recorders.
Like a kazoo.
It is the most purely like it. They're all pure love about the recorder. They got big giant room size recorders. They got the little teeny ones, and all in between have recorder groups and stuff. And I joined it on a lark. And this Facebook, and every once in a while, like somebody will put a piece up on Facebook, and I'll be listening to this. Like I'm becoming a fan of recorder music, just because. Anyway,
Kate Gibson, a fellow deadhead out there, she says, I once met Adrian at a Scottsdale leadership event. It was a meet and greet for folks running for office and held at a golf course, kind of a Blue Tuesday, and says, I was instantly impressed. He won my vote, and thank you for your service. We appreciate the work that you do. Now, here's a question from my friend Amy. She goes, I have a question about purging of voters. Here we go. Just listen to it. I know this is a loaded question, but my brother still receives mailers for Maricopa County elections. He has not lived in Arizona since 1992. He was in the military for 7 years and was most likely still registered here, but that would put him at least 1998, the last time he would have qualified to vote. 1998 seems like yesterday, but sadly, it's 22 years ago. You know, one of the people who is in our legislative district, Michelle Ugenti-Rita, I think, who's angling for a higher spot in office, has been very much active in trying to reshape what our election actually looks like. For whatever reason, I don't think it's a good reason, but she did talk about a word that's kind of scary, purging of voters. Mm-hmm. But do you think there's any way to get to the point where people don't vote in a certain number of elections, or we can actually track when they move, maybe a national database when they register one place, it removes them from all other? What do you do about that, Adrian?
Well, first and foremost, was it Amy that asked that? Thank you very much. And Amy, if you'll do us a favor and you can email me, and if you don't mind, just give me his like first name, last name, and the address, and we'll look into that. I want to make sure that we do that. My email address is afontes, AFONTES, at RISC, that's RISC.maricopa.gov. That's a long one. afontes at RISC.maricopa.gov. Send me that information on the official side.
That's a cattywomper.
That's a cattywomper. Now, I'm here as a candidate, but I do want to look into that because, look, at the end of the day, we do clean up our voter list. We clean them up really, really well. We've got 2.4 million people on our voter rolls. And here's the interesting thing about that. We're working with legacy systems that are literally decades behind the curve. And when I say decades behind the curve, I mean, I don't even know if some of them are older than Andy Gomez. Might be.
Andy who?
Andy Gomez.
Gomez Andy.
Yeah. With families from Tucson, Flagstaff, Globe, and other places in Arizona. Been around a long time.
She's great, man.
So we do occasionally run into cases like this, and we do have a rule in Arizona about moving folks from one voter status to another. Let me explain those real quick. So you're either an active voter, that means you can walk in and vote. You can be on the permanent early vote list, anything like that. You can move then to it being inactive. You're still registered, but inactive. Inactive voters automatically get moved to the active rolls if they go in and vote because they're still on the rolls, or if they sign a petition, their signature is challenged and that gets verified because now we'll have their address and their signature. And the way the petition is written is they're back to active. So people sometimes bounce from active to inactive and back. Then we have what's called canceled. Those voters need to come back and re-register to get active. Moving from one to another will eventually, if you don't vote and you don't get us after we've received 2 notices back that you're not at that address, those folks, so the order is this: we don't get information, well, we get information that you're not at your address twice, but we got to get that information back. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything about it. We get notified twice that you're not at that address, either through national change of address, the database, or someone sends it to us and says this person isn't living here anymore. After the second one, then you go on inactive and you wait for 2 federal cycles, then you get canceled. And that's how we clean up that. That's why we don't have 8 million people on our voter rolls. We only have 2.5 or 2.4 million right now. So we do have these things going on. So I'd like to tell the person asking the question, if it is in fact the case that we're getting something back that says this person isn't there anymore, if we're getting that information, we're going to start that process, but it is set in law. If, however, this individual keeps getting notifications and those either go in the circular file in the garbage or somebody tears it up and gets rid of it, if that doesn't come back to us, we don't have the capacity legally to take somebody off the voter roll. So I'm not going to put anything on anybody right now. What I am saying is there's probably some good reason somewhere along the line in the process that is keeping this individual on the rolls. There are some other rules that apply to folks who may have been UOCAVA voters, that's Uniform Civilian Overseas Voters, folks in the military, it sounds like this might be one of them, or they work for the Department of Defense, Department of State overseas. They've got special things that keep them from getting knocked off the voter rolls. It's a real tough check and balance to administer all of these folks. Think about it, 2.4 million is a lot. So we got to make sure that we're treating everybody the right way and not just knocking people off willy-nilly. But I do want to hear from you if you don't mind on that one case.
Okay. Amy will try to reach out to you. Hey, Jay's got a really important question, and he wants to know, I don't know if you can share this, but the Secret Recorder Society, any way you can get a link for that for the guy?
No, it's not secret. It's
oh, wait, don't blow it up now. Just keep it secret. People love secret societies.
No, I get it. No, trust me, I get that. No, it's just a Facebook group, the Recorders Society of America or something like that.
Just spell it right. You don't want to get the real one.
American Recorder Society. I just joined it on a lark one time. It's really cute, and they've got some wonderful music on there too.
It's just, I think the secret code word is wooden flute when you have to get in there.
or like remember 4th grade. I think that's the password.
Yeah, I think that was maybe even 3rd grade that you had to play out in your had to play outside. Get outside, kid. Get some fresh air. Wait, I want to ask. All right, so we're kind of getting to the end of the time. I'll get to our little game, I promise, for the kids at home who love to play. But we've had Republicans in charge of the Secretary of State's office. We've had Republicans in charge of the Maricopa County Recorder's office. And just now that some Democrats are in these positions, we're starting to hear about the boogeyman, and the sky is falling. And if you give people the opportunity to vote early, heavens to Betsy, they might vote, and therefore we're going to be losing. So all these boogeymen about stealing elections, and it's tell me how many people. I mean, we are a law and order society, right? How many people have been prosecuted for voter fraud?
Well, I mean, it's a de minimis number. I mean, it's very few, and most of them are just really minor things that really have not and will not make any difference. But that whole argument is bullshit. Let's just be clear. I work very closely. Yeah, I did. I said it. That argument is bullshit. Okay. I work very closely. I work very closely with the other 14 county recorders in Arizona, and I will tell you that there was a representative who shall remain unnamed for now, because she's married to one of the Supreme Court justices, and I'm still a member of the bar, who put out an editorial with all this nonsense in it. And the County Recorders Association president got so mad that she went and got the president of the Election Directors Association in Arizona, and all 30 of us, 15 over here and 15 over here, unanimously signed on to an editorial that was then published. So Virginia Ross, the Republican recorder in Pinal County, came right out and said it. This is just nonsense. And you know who else thinks it's nonsense? Leslie Hoffman, Republican recorder in Yavapai County. Robin Poquette down in Yuma County thinks it's nonsense. Folks who've been doing this in other states, Patty Hansen up in Flagstaff, she's a Democrat, but she's been an election administrator in, I want to say, like Nebraska and Minnesota before she came to become county recorder in Coconino County up in Flagstaff. We know what's going on, and I think anybody with half a brain knows what's going on. This is a distraction. It's nonsense. Look, 85% of turnout.
It's dangerous, Adrian.
85% of turnout in the August 2018 election was ballot by mail. You know where the highest concentration of Pebble voters is per county by county? It's the most Republican county in Arizona, Yavapai County. Up there, Leslie Hoffman's people. She called me 2 or 3 weeks ago when they hit over 80% on the early vote list.
Probably bragging.
She called me to give me a hard time. I can show you that. I can show you when it happened on my phone. And I'm like, Leslie, are you just calling to give me grief? And she's like, yeah, I'm bragging.
Yeah.
I mean, we have great relationships with these folks because we are all dedicated to the same thing. We want voters to have access. We want them to vote. You know who's got a mobile voting truck? Pinal County's Republican County Recorder, Virginia Ross, has a mobile voting truck. They move this thing around the county and do voter registration and actual election stuff. And vote. Yeah, you think I'm going to be able to get funding for something like that? I mean, come on.
Hey, you know what?
No, we all know why these arguments are being made. It's nonsense.
Here's the thing. You touched on something about like this mobile voting truck. I think that's a great idea. But if you really want to put some money and get some bang for your buck, look, come a little closer here. Apple pie scratch and sniff stickers that go on and say, I voted. What's more American than apple pie?
Well, what I've got is something a little bit different. It's not apple pie scratch and sniff, but they are scratch and sniff. And they're going to come to you in the mail. And if you scratch the new stickers that are coming to you in the mail, right?
Yeah.
They say, there's fill the ballot right there.
Nice.
Right? There's another different one right there.
Nice.
So red on top, blue on top, whatever. Random selection. You're not going to get all 4. You'll get one of the 4 in your ballot envelope. Look for them right after July 8th if you're voting in the primary. We've got stickers. And if you
are they really scratch and sniff? Stop me.
Watch. If I scratch this right here,
it smells like what? Liberty?
It smells like democracy.
Ah, I knew you had me. You had me right there. All right. Now I got you. I got the questions here.
All right.
Behind you, sir, you have the Marine flag. I don't know too much about the military, but I do know they have captains.
Okay.
I don't know if you're a captain, but I have a list of famous captains, and I'm going to ask you a little hint, and you have to identify the famous captain. Now, the kids at home, they love this part of the show. They listen to nothing you said before. They listen to nothing I said. But they play along, so don't just blurt out the answer. Give it a moment or two. Let everybody else have a chance, okay? Okay. Tomorrow on the show, we have, before we take our break for the July 4th holiday, we have Bill Crawford, last guest for the Scottsdale City Council, coming here Wild Bill and why he should be elected. Okay, here we go. This is a spiced rum, and the guys.
I know who that is.
Yeah. Go.
Captain Morgan.
Very good. Okay, this guy has a big mustache.
You know he was a real guy?
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to stop asking you these questions. I'm a little bit too gullible. I'm a pussy willow in a cattywampus kind of way. Okay, so this guy has a big mustache. He's got a blue kind of tricorn hat, and he sits on a cereal box.
Yep. Captain Crunch.
You got that. He spells his name a little funny. He spells it Captain. CAP''N. But we'll give it to him.
Now, the apostrophe indicates that there are some letters that have been omitted for the purpose of abbreviation. And so he actually does spell it Captain Crunch, but they ran out of ink at the Kellogg's factory, or was it General Mills? I don't know.
He's got, he's still got the shoulder pads from the 70s.
You know what those are called? Those are called epaulets.
I know that. What do you think? I'm stupid. I'm the host of this show.
You said shoulder pads. This isn't Dynasty. You're not Linda Evans.
Yeah, Joan Collins. Okay, here we go. Speaking of Dynasty, this guy was half of a famous singing couple.
Oh, I already can tell you.
Love will keep us together.
Yes. Now, the next part of the question is,
what's his real name?
Well, his name. Oh, his real name?
Yeah.
Captain.
He's the captain, Captain Antonio, but what's his real name, the captain?
He didn't have a real name. That was his name, Captain.
Daryl Dragon.
Get the hell out of here. Daryl Dragon?
Yes, it is. Okay.
I love that name.
I know. I don't think that's real. I think that was a stage name behind the stage name. I think he had a double stage name.
Daryl Dragon is like a guy, like a comic book spy.
Speaking of comic books, here's the next captain. Are you ready?
Captain Daryl Dragon.
Got a shield with a star on it. This is a gimme. This is a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, Captain America. Come on.
Captain America. Okay. All right. This is a little bit tougher.
We need to Captain Arizona with like the Arizona flag right here with the kind of the shield that has the flag on it.
That'd be nice.
Arizona. That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. How about this guy? He was on the Love Boat.
Oh, Captain Steubing.
Captain Steubing. Man, you do know your captains. Okay. All right. How about this one? He was Peter Pan's arch nemesis.
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook. Okay, this guy, I was a little creeped out by him. He had a children's program with a big bussy mustache, and I never trusted old men with little children. So he was.
Right now, sir, you need to check yourself because Captain Kangaroo was a Marine.
Was he really?
Yeah, so back off.
I should have ended with that one. Hey, look, we both got mustaches. There's nothing wrong with the mustache, the little French tickle.
We're not creepy. I think we don't hang out with kids.
Not creepy, not creepy. But I'll tell you what, that little voting booth, it better not be handing out ice cream, that mobile thing. Okay.
Ooh, Phil?
Whatever that guy's name is. It was the sponge.
Phil. It's
like,
Phil the
like SpongeBob.
Man, look at how cool he is. Are you kidding me?
It's like a bar of ivory soap.
It's like if I'm not gonna go there. That's some fun.
Okay. I've got 2 more left for you. I'm going to say that you're going to go for 1 for 2 on this. I'm going to give you the first one. You're going to get it. The second one, I think I have you. Here we go. Okay. This guy was he was in a television show, Star Trek, played by William Shatner.
Oh, Captain James T. Kirk.
Hey, you got the whole thing. Very good. Okay, this is where I have you, sir. Are you ready?
Yes.
A famous Elton John album. It's Blank and the Brown Dirt Cowboy.
How old do you think I am? No, I don't know that one.
Dude, you're just about as old as I am. Wait. Captain Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I win.
I got a captain question for you.
All right. Go ahead.
He played Cyndi Lauper's dad in Girls Just Want to Have
Fun. Captain Lou Albano. You ain't got nothing on me.
I got nothing on you.
He put that little rubber band on his coat.
Yeah, look at his cheek.
Yeah, the whole thing. All right, look, hey, thanks for coming on the show, Adrian Fontes. I feel good having you in charge of the elections. Elections should be nonpartisan. That's why I didn't ask you for a endorsement. I don't expect one. I don't want you to stick out on a limb, but I do think you're a fine man.
I love you, man, but I wouldn't have given you one anyway. I'm not endorsing it.
Right. That's the way it should be. That's the way.
I got the friggin' ballots.
That's the way it should be. So go out to electfontes.com, get some more information on a true American patriot. Thank you, sir. You go ahead and have yourself a great weekend, July 1st.
You don't got to call me sir. I was a corporal.
I put you up to a captain. Okay.
Well, I did get nominated for a meritorious commission, but I broke my feet, so I never made it to the officer ranks. But
not bone spurs, though.
Great show. I had a really great time. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And
say goodbye to Andy Gomez.
Thank you, Andy Gomez.